How many of you remember the famous line, "You can't handle the truth"? Well, you're back, so I guess you can. So glad to see everybody this morning. Shalom Aleichem. Welcome to see everybody back this morning as we had a truth bomb in yesterday's Aliyah. If you missed it, go back and see. Today we're going to be talking more about the spies from Parashat Shelach and the power of 10, the power of just 10 people to really change the destiny, in this case, in a bad way, for an entire generation. Because the spies came back and they gave their pessimistic report, and as a result of their pessimism, everybody in this generation died in the wilderness, and it just took 10 men. And so today we'll be looking at some insights. I've read them before in times past from Rabbi Monk. In fact, I did a Aliyah on this last year, I believe it was, called The Power of Pessimism. And I encourage you to go back and look at that if you have not seen that, or maybe it's been a minute since you've seen it. And today we're going to be talking more about this subject of pessimism. We're also going to look at some insights to the Midrash Rabbah. And we're going to dive into these truths. The thing about truth is you have to be careful with it, of course, because people can't handle the truth, and some people will hear the truth and instantly be turned off to it. I struggle in my own ministry and my own as a rabbi. I struggle as to how to walk that line, because I'm not very good at placating. I'm not very good at the I don't know what you call it. When you need to teach truth, but you're trying to teach truth to people that if you teach truth to, that they may not come back because the truth is just too jarring. And so you need to kind of milk toast it down a little bit so that they'll keep coming back, I guess. And it's so I don't know how to, to me, Rabbi Singer and I talked about that's a lot of the bait and switch thing. And I'm just not real good at that. I don't know how to navigate that, actually. People are better at it than I am, where you can just kind of not tell the truth while you're trying to tell the truth, so that people who can't handle the truth can keep coming back to hear the truth. I don't know. I'm still working on that. I'm going to take a class online called How to Be Not So Truthful. Yeah. So, and I'm kind of half kidding this morning, but I really do. I'm interested in trying. I don't really know how to do that. I'm not very good at it. So, Rabbi Singer referred to it yesterday as being blunt. And some people can't help or can't handle, or because bluntness doesn't work well for them. I don't know. You tell me. It's interesting. I'm not sure. How do you do that in your life? I'm not that great at it, but I'm getting better. So we're good morning, Epsibo. Hope you're doing great. Good morning, Chanel. Hope you're doing great. Good morning, Seth. Hope you're doing fantastic as well. Good morning, Ahava. Hope life is treating you well. Chanel, good to see you this morning. Isaac, good to see you this morning as well, watching from the Redwoods. And Hector, hello. And hello to Amanda, Gabrielle, Isabella, Abigail, and Sarah. What all great names there. Good morning, Micaiah. Hope you're doing great. Kelly Allard, there you are, watching from the great northwestern area. Good to see you this morning, Baruch HaShem. Chris and Crystal, good morning to you. Hope you're doing fantastic. Laurie, good morning to you. Kim Bemintz, Boker Tov. Dana, good morning. Shoshana Brenner, good morning to you. Sonia Holt, good to see you this morning. And who else do we have? Peaches. Good morning, Peaches, formerly from Georgia. Hope you're doing great. There's Katura. Good morning. Amita, good morning to you. Hope you're doing fantastic. Zakin Yigal, shalom aleichem, sir. Roy, there's Roy. Hope you're doing great, Roy. And Sergio, good morning to you. Daniel, good morning, sir. Brenda, good morning. Milka, good morning to you. And Sarah Merritt, hope you and Shane are doing fantastic. Who else do we have? Melanie, good to see you, Melanie. Glad you're able to join the program again. Carolyn, Carolyn, good morning to you, Carolyn. Hope you're doing well and life is treating you well. There is Grace watching from the great United Kingdom. Summer has arrived in the UK. Well, I bet it's not as hot as Texas. Texas is a great place. I wish the temperature in the summertime was a little cooler, but hey, you know, it is what it is. There's no perfect place. So anyway, it's hot. It's hot here, or as they say in Jamaica, hot. Good morning, Leah. Good to see you. Good morning, Leah. Good morning to see you. Good morning, Emmanuel. Shalom. Anthony, good morning to you. Hadara, good morning to you. Kathy, hope you're doing fantastic. And Sarah Steckley, watching from Ontario, Canada. Good to see you, Sarah. Hope you and Paul are doing great. Can't wait to see you guys back in town. There is Yosef watching from Yosef, formerly from Miami. I think watching from Miami now, unless you're back. Suffering in Miami must be tough there. Such a horrible place. Desolation. Let's see. I'm kidding, of course. Let's see. My little. Did I miss people? I think I went past people. Hold on. Let me get back. Where is Yosef? There's Yosef. Okay. And you can't handle the truth. Zakin Yugal, you can't handle the truth. I think I relate very much to that character in that movie, the Marine Colonel, played by the famous actor whose name escapes me, but doesn't matter. Let's see. Good morning, Kevin. Good morning to you, sir. And blunt is sometimes necessary. Well, that's good. I don't know. I know there's people that need more gentle, and that's why we have other teachers here, because not to say that I can't be more gentle and kind, but other people have different styles. That's good. We all need the different, because people relate to people differently. Not everybody is going to appreciate my style, which Charlie can't understand, but I've tried to explain it to him. He just can't get it because he loves me, right? Yeah. Thanks, Charlie. All right. Good morning, Corin. Good to see you guys watching from Germany. Love you guys. Gianna, there's Gianna. Good morning, Gianna. I ran out of the wine, Gianna. Not that I'm crying to you about it. I'm just saying. Might want to make a note of that. Beverly, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. And Levi, good morning. Hope you're doing great. Thank you, Anthony. I am doing fantastic. Thank you very much. Brenda Shepard, good morning to you. Noah's Ark is watching from India. Wow. You know, it's interesting. We have people who watch from several places on a regular basis. One, of course, is the United Kingdom, Canada, South Africa, and India. So that's pretty neat. We have people who watch from other places as well, but a lot of our audience comes from those nations as well. Who else do we have? BN. I forgot who BN is. My apologies for that. Attila, good morning to you. Did I miss anybody? I hope I didn't miss it. Kriston. Good morning, Kriston. I see there. Baruch HaShem. And good morning, Eliezer. So let me take a quick look, make sure I didn't miss anybody. I hate doing that. Mama watching from Northwest Indiana. Good morning to you, Mama. Or as I call my mother, Mudda. My Mudda. David. Good morning, David, from Sandra from Texas. Well, we're out in Texas. Mudda. My Mudda. That's what I've called my mother for a number of years. All right, so let's look. Rabbi Monk, that's what I was going to do. Let me go there first and talk about pessimism. Pessimism is a killer. Nothing is accomplished with pessimism. If you are somebody who struggles with pessimism, I would encourage you to work on that. You know, the Hasidic Judaism has taught for a long time, and I wholeheartedly agree with this idea, and that is that the Shekinah of God cannot manifest. Good morning, Ramona. Good to see you as well. Oh, David, you're only in Kaufman? You are super close. You need to come see us. Good to see you here, David. Kaufman, yeah, Kaufman is practically down the street. In Texas miles anyway, because in Texas, if you're 30 miles away, then you're a neighbor. So anyway, pessimism is a killer. People who are pessimistic don't accomplish anything in life because they're too depressed. But in Hasidic Judaism, it says that the Shekinah of God will not rest upon anybody who is depressed. So one of the crucial tenets of Hasidism is to be joyful all the time, to be joyful. Now the question becomes, and rationally, how can you become joyful all of the time? And we all are adults here, and we know that life is not always joyful. So how do you achieve a level of serenity or joy and avoid depression? Okay, the answer, of course, is bitachon. Remember that Emunah and bitachon are not Bitcoin, because that's fake, but bitachon. Emunah and bitachon are related. Emunah is faith, which insinuates faithfulness. There's no such thing as faith without faithfulness in Judaism. So anyway, there's none of that. Bitachon is trust. Now, trust is related to faith, but really I like to say it that, good morning, Stacy. Bitachon is faith in action. So the example I always give is that, your father, when you were a little child, your father might have been standing in the pool and he was saying, jump, I'll catch you. And you were kind of scared of the water. Maybe you couldn't quite swim yet. And so you had faith that your father had the ability to catch you, prevent you from drowning, etc. But you didn't really have the bitachon. You didn't have the trust because you didn't until you jumped. Okay. So the jumping is the bitachon, is the trust. So therefore, okay, bring us back to this issue of joy. How can you have joy all of the time and avoid depression? And the answer is bitachon, meaning that even in the negative moments of life, there is a trust that this is happening for a reason, and the reason is for your ultimate best. This is why the saying is in Judaism, Gam zu letova. This too is for the best. Gam zu letova. Gam zu letova. This too is for the best. You can shorten it and just say gam zu. So a lot of times you'll hear people say gam zu or gam zu letova. Gam zu is a shortened version. Gam zu. Okay. Sergio just typed it out. And so this too is for the best, meaning that we trust that everything that happens to us in life comes from HaShem because he's sovereign. He's the one who's totally in control. Okay. He's not Wile E. Coyote who gets outsmarted by the Roadrunner. Everything he has for us is in his power. And therefore, if we have negativity in our life, then there must be a reason, and that reason has to be for our best. Now, it doesn't always seem that way, obviously, because a lot of times we see negativity in life. We wonder, how can this be for my best? Of course, years down the road, we look back and go, oh, I see how that was for the best. So therefore, this is how we live with joy in the moment. It's not easy. What I'm telling you right now is not easy. And I, myself, and the Rebbe and others don't always, knock it out of the park. But the point, in fact, is that when it comes to pessimism and depression, the Spirit of God can't dwell with us. Now, why can't the Spirit of God dwell with us when we're depressed? And the reason is because depression is the absence of faith. It's the absence of trust. If we're depressed, then it means that we are lost in our circumstances and we're not looking at HaShem. And so therefore the Spirit of God departs because why stick around? We're not trusting him. So this brings us back to the issue of the spies. So the title of today's drosh is The Power of 10. the secret power of 10. And I want you to understand that it just took 10 spies. Now, these spies were not chumps. They were leaders. They were people who had influence. They were people who had respect of the community. So in other words, they weren't just chumps. Their opinion had an impact, obviously. So you're talking about 10 people with influence, 10 people with respectability. But it just took 10 people who were pessimistic, who did a little bit of gaslighting. By the way, I want everybody, you watch this channel, and I appreciate that. Maybe Rabbi Singer or somebody. Rabbi Singer, could you put in the name of that doctor on YouTube that talks about, it's Dr. Ramani, who talks about, narcissism. Narcissism is a real epidemic in our day and age. And I want everybody to study narcissism. Many of you have, some of you never have, but many of you will be stunned how many narcissists have been or possibly are in your life right now. And there's nothing you can do, by the way, to help a narcissist. Unfortunately, they're pretty much goners. But you'll know what I mean when you study it out, why I say that. But this really, the purpose of me wanting you to study this topic is because I want you to be protected from these people, okay? Because they are very damaging in people's lives, very damaging. Anyway, this is a side note, but I really do want you to take the time to study narcissism for your own sake, so that in your relationships, and when I say relationships, I mean, I'm not talking about romantic relationships. I'm talking about just relationships in general. I want you to be protected from the narcissist at work, the narcissistic boss, the narcissistic friend, the narcissistic business partner, the narcissistic whatever, teacher, a parent. I want you to be, it's really interesting. And it's such an epidemic in our day and age. I want you to study this out and learn about it, and how to avoid narcissistic people, how to deal with them, and how yourself can be protected. So the reason I bring this up about narcissism, and you're going to hear me talk about this a lot, because Rabbi Singer and I, unfortunately, have had to deal with some narcissistic people in our life, and we've benefited greatly from learning about this and so forth. But the reason I bring this up is because in our story about the spies, we see one of the clear tactics of a narcissist. I'm not suggesting the spies were narcissistic necessarily. And by the way, there is such thing as a narcissist, and then there's people, sometimes ourselves, who can have narcissistic tendencies or narcissistic moments, right? But we're not narcissists, okay? I'm just talking about people in general. So I'm not suggesting that the spies were narcissists, but what I do recognize in this story is that there's definitely gaslighting going on. What's gaslighting? Gaslighting is when you see something with your own eyes, or know a fact or whatever, or and the person is trying to make you think that that's not what you see. Basically, that's essentially it. A great example of gaslighting is the Christian comments with respect to JC fulfilled the law. Okay, so this has been happening so often recently. So interesting. It's a very narcissistic theological point. But somebody like me comes along and says, Christianity teaches that JC abolished the law of Moses. A Christian apologist comes along and says, no. He did not abolish the law. He fulfilled it. What they mean is that, well, he fulfilled it. Somehow there was some magical thing that had to be done to bring it to a completion. Of course, that's all fairy tale. But anyway, he fulfilled it and kind of like, packaged it up and kind of completed it and put a little nice bow on it, put it on the shelf so that I no longer have to do it. So you see, he didn't abolish it. He just did it so that I don't have to anymore. Well, that's a classic classic example of gaslighting, because you're sitting there looking at it and say, well, no, he abolished the law, meaning he made it of no effect. He nullified it. He ended it. He canceled it. He made it so that you don't have to do it anymore. And the Christian comes along and says, that's not what you see, precious. Sweetie, come on. That's no. That's not what you see. What you see is that he kind of fulfilled it. So that I don't have to, he didn't abolish it. He fulfilled it. And it's, you're looking at going, what are you even talking about? Like, that's not what I see the sky is blue. That's a classic gaslighting. So what's going on here is that, and by the way, people that are gaslighting you don't necessarily know that they're gaslighting you, because they're delusional oftentimes themselves. You have to understand that too. So it's a very, this is why I tell you, I'm a rabbi and a psychiatrist. So the spies are doing some gaslighting too, because they're saying, look, there's these huge grapes and so forth and so on. But you know what? Don't look at the huge grapes. The land's really bad. It devours those who go in there. So you're looking at the fruit of the land, literally looking at it, and you're saying, man, looks amazing. And they're like, no, it's not amazing. That's not what you see. Those grapes, the reason they're like that is because actually they're small grapes. Those are tiny. I mean, seriously, this is what you see, what's going on here. Okay. So Rabbi Monk makes a comment, and I think it's very interesting. He says, the real sin of the spies, which is taught by Ramban, is that they overreacted to their own fear and that of the nation, so that they became pessimistic about Hashem's promises to his people. Boy, isn't that true? People can become, I like the way that Rabbi Monk put this. He said they overreacted to their own fear. There's a principle, by the way, in Judaism, that what you fear, what you dread, will in fact come upon you. Now, this is really, really important. What you fear will come upon you. And I want to emphasize this point, that you have to really be careful that you don't dread or fear something. If you find yourself kind of on a daily basis, kind of waiting for the proverbial next shoe to drop, waiting for something to jump out of the bushes around the corner, you really need to deal with that. You need to say, no, I need to stop thinking that way, because what you're doing in the spirit realm, according to the ancient sages, is you're attracting that which you dread and fear. You're literally attracting that to yourself. What you fear will come upon you. And why is this the case? Well, it goes back to Emunah and Bitachon. As an aside, not unrelated to that, I want to mention this as well. You ever heard the statement? My grandparents used to say this. Good morning, Mariah. My grandparents used to say this a lot. That cleanliness is next to godliness. Anybody ever heard that statement? Is that, I don't know if that's a Texas thing or maybe broader. Cleanliness is next to godliness. And of course, people have made the comments in the past that that's not found in the Bible anywhere, which is true. But where is it found? Okay. It's found in the Jewish literature. So the reason I talked about attracting, I just talked about attracting what you dread to yourself. Well, interestingly, the ancient sages also wrote about the principle that cleanliness and organization actually attracts wealth. Now, sometimes our houses get messy and our cars get messy and our desks get messy and so on and so forth. And that's just, that's just life, right? But that's not what we're talking here. We're talking about here the principle that when we keep our homes and cars and offices and so forth clean and tidy and, organized, we literally attract a spirit of wealth. And to do the opposite, to live in filth and disorder and so forth and so on, we attract a spirit of poverty. You ever notice that when you go to a neighborhood or an area that is impoverished, do you ever notice that it's usually not very clean? It's usually disorganized and it's not very well kept. Well, think about this for a moment. How much does it cost to clean? How much does it cost to pick up trash? How much does it cost to dust? How much does it cost to sweep, to tidy up? How much does it cost? Is it expensive to stay organized? Is it expensive to keep trash off the streets, off the lawn? Is that expensive? Well, no, of course it doesn't. It basically costs nothing but effort, right? Exactly. So there's no reason why impoverished areas should be filthy, but it's because they're filthy that they're impoverished. And that's what I wanted to communicate to you. The sages are right. When we start to organize, when we start to clean, we attract a spirit of prosperity. In like manner, when we are positive in our thinking and we're not waiting for the next shoe to drop, we're not sitting around being pessimistic, anticipating disaster, but when we are anticipating goodness, when we say Gam Zule Tova, we attract to ourselves a spirit of success. Why? Because we are attracting to ourselves the Spirit of God. Indeed, we're going back to the issue of attracting wealth, attracting or the opposite of attracting poverty. The sages talk about that we attract a spirit of prosperity, and when we are living in filth and disorganization, we attract a demon of lack, a demon of poverty. So this is a motivation to us to be people who keep stuff clean, keep stuff organized, right? That's just the motivation. It's not just about cleanliness. It's about, hey, listen, this is a very real way in which we remain, prosperous. So continuing on, so remember, and I remember the theme of today. The theme of today is how 10 people changed the lives of hundreds of thousands, millions, indeed, millions of people in the wilderness. This is why I brought up, by the way, about you studying about narcissism. Because you want to avoid these people in your life that will keep you bound, okay? Narcissistic people are, and they're a big problem in our day and age. So it goes on to say, another aspect of their sin was heresy. When they said to one another, let us appoint a leader and let us return to Egypt. They implied that they would abandon the Torah and the mitzvot that they had accepted at Mount Sinai. That constitutes heresy, which if done on purpose, would bring upon them the punishment of keret, excision. That is an early death. So as we see, to abandon the law of Moses is heresy. It's absolute heresy, okay? And this is why I've talked lately about any Messiah who abandons the law of Moses or teaches his followers to do the same for any reason is, by biblical definition, a false Messiah. This is why I said, what was on Friday, I think, that, or maybe it was Thursday, it doesn't matter, whatever day it was. People might wonder, what if I could prove to you, Rabbi, that JC, Yeshua for that matter, what if I could prove to you that he abolished the Torah or changed the Torah? Maybe he got rid of the sacrifices, he got rid of the temple service, maybe through his ministry he got rid of the priesthood, Maybe he made it okay to eat meat and dairy together. Maybe he made it okay to eat unclean food or whatever. He didn't really, okay, maybe he didn't completely get rid of the Torah. Well, what if I could prove to you, Rabbi, that he got rid of the ceremonial things of the law, but maybe he kept the more important, things of the law, like the moral teachings. What if I could prove that to you beyond a reasonable doubt? Rabbi, wouldn't you, if I could prove that to you, that is in fact what he taught, wouldn't that change your point of view? And my answer, of course, is no. If you could, God forbid, prove that to me beyond a reasonable doubt with clear-cut evidence, then I would declare to you that the Messiah of the Gospels is a false Messiah. 100%. It wouldn't even be a hard decision for me to make. I wouldn't go, man, I don't know, man, is that really right? No, it would be instantaneous. Why? Because the Torah is my standard. I would really, no, I'm not going to do it. I want to share something with you, but I'm going to wait for a later time. Okay, let me share this with you as well. The sin of the spies may also have been motivated by doubts about the leadership of Moses. A few days before, Eldad and Medad had prophesied that Moses would die and Joshua would lead the people into Canaan. Now they had almost reached the border and were uncertain as to whether the young and the inexperienced Joshua could lead them against a strong, well-armed enemy. It goes on to say the sin of the spies, and remember, again, the spies are just 10 people, just 10. You think, well, it really takes a lot to change people. No, it doesn't. Now think about this, by the way. If the power of 10, if 10 people could change the trajectory of an entire generation, millions of people, and they're for an evil way, what could 10 people do in a positive way? We don't have to be 100,000 member congregation to change the world. We don't have to be 1,000 members. We can change the power of 10, the power of 12. So it says the sin of the spies is seen in another dimension by Hasidic sages. They teach that the Jews led an ideal life in the desert. They had an abundance of food with the manna which fell from the heavens. They had water. They had from the miraculous well of Miriam. They had clothing that never wore out. And so they could devote themselves totally to Torah without the slightest material concerns. In the promised land, on the other hand, they would have to plant and work the fields. This did not seem to them an improvement over their life in the desert. In accepting such a negative view, they failed to recognize the importance of a life of action, a life of doing mitzvot, especially those connected with the soil of Israel. So that's a great insight, because one of their problems was that they wanted to just live in the supernatural all the time, live in the spiritual, not get involved with life. Okay, and that's not what God has called us to. He is not calling us to a life of just sitting around studying Torah all day long. We have to be out in the world doing things and allowing ourselves to be challenged, allowing ourselves to encounter challenge. This is one of the fallacies, by the way, of the so-called ultra-Orthodox that just want to sit around in yeshivas all day and study Torah. And lately, the issue has come up again in Israel, in which these people don't want to go fight in the army in the war in Gaza or in the war in the north, because they say that, our job is to sit around and study Torah and to be a spiritual barrier, a spiritual shield for the army. Well, let me just tell you what I think of that as somebody who's a combat trained Marine. That's what I would call in French a coward. Okay. And it's completely sitting around in a yeshiva 24/7 and not having a job, not going to war, not doing it. You just sit around all day, and that's what they do, right? They sit around all day and just study the holy books. That, ladies and gentlemen, is garbage. Okay, that is not that's not life. It's not even my life. If you think that I mean, I do this for a living, but if you think that I just get to sit around all day long and study books, you're sadly mistaken. Okay, there's a lot more that unfortunately, I have to do than that. So I don't even do that, right? So the idea that you could just be and live in some cave somewhere, so to speak, and study Torah, that's not the Torah ideal. And those people need to shut their books, go get a job, put on a uniform, go kill the enemy, and stop being cowards. Okay, that's the reality. Okay. All right. Charlie said I was being blunt again. I need to watch it. Thanks, Charlie. All right. Amalek dwells in the area of the Negev. The spies began with Amalek, which the people already knew to be dangerous. Then they went on to the other alternatives. If you try to avoid the Negev, you will have to go by way of the mountains, where they will encounter the Hivites, the Jebusites, the Amorites. If you try to go via the coastlands or the banks of the Jordan, you'll encounter the Canaanites. Thus, they implied that there was no way the Israelites could succeed in conquering the land. So they start bringing out all the negativity reports, and so on and so forth. You can't go that way because of this, can't go that way because of this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Caleb silenced the people, and Joshua had tried to intervene, but the spies stopped him by pointing out that he had no children and could not share the concerns of those he had. Joshua was clearly in a weak position because he had been designated as Moses' successor and therefore had a personal stake in supporting Moses' position. At that point, Caleb came forward and took command of the situation by saying just 8 words in a thunderous voice. We shall surely ascend and conquer it, for we can surely do it. These words were enough to reassure the people. Note that he was able to turn the argument without extensive logical analysis and without criticizing the words of his colleagues. The difference between pessimism and optimism does not lie in the objective reality, but in one's attitude and the trust he places in HaShem. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a great point to end on, and that is that let me just repeat this sentence. It's so good. The difference between pessimism and optimism does not lie in the objective reality. So the circumstances are what they are. Okay? So, and this, to many pessimists, they get angry when an optimist looks at the same situation and says a few simple words. You ever experienced this, by the way? You have somebody who's looking at a situation that's negative, and the pessimist says, it's not going to work out. It's going to fail. We're never going to make it. It's going to cost a lot of money. You know, what's the Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh? And then Tigger comes along, right? Eeyore has been going, it's not going to work. No. And then Tigger comes along, and Tigger says a few short words such as, it's going to be okay. And have you ever noticed when you say that to a pessimist, they get angry? Why do you always say that? Tigger, you're always saying it's going to be okay. Why does that make a pessimist angry? Well, because they think it's because you're looking at the negative situation and you're not being realistic. But that's not it. You look at the same situation, and what's the difference? You trust HaShem. It's going to be okay. Why? Because you're just not living reality? No. It's the same circumstances. You just believe that HaShem somehow is going to give us the answer. Being a pessimist will attract to you that which you fear, and being an optimist will attract to you that spirit of success. You have the power to change the circumstances based upon your attitude. This is the power of the 10. The power of the 10 changed the destiny of millions of people, just 10 people. They could have done it for the best, but they did it for the worst in this case. And we learn from that and realize that we too have to be optimistic people. Thank you so much for being here. Please be sure and subscribe to this video, or subscribe to this channel rather. Like this video, watch this video again and again. Watch other videos that we've done here. Please be sure and check out some of our other links on this channel. And share this with your friends. And also check out that Dr. Ramani that Rebbeinu put in the chat. Study about narcissism. I think many of you will be shocked and stunned how many people in your life are narcissists or have been narcissists, and how you've been negatively impacted by that. But it was going to give you the power to avoid a narcissist. It's very prevalent in our day and age, and you need to make sure that you have the skill set to avoid the narcissist. So I encourage you to do that. So thank you so much for being here. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Until then, have a great and amazing day.